Russia bans hot girl summer.
Porn baron banks billions.
And swimming's least obvious doper.
All this and more on this week's episode of News Sensation.
Hello and welcome back to News Sensation. I'm Chris Patel.
And I'm Matty Curry.
And this is the podcast where we take the weirdest stories from this week in the news, in sport, in everything, and we bring them to you lovely people sitting right there at home or wherever you are in the world. And we've got a wide range for you today.
Oh, we certainly do. You have now got me thinking about where the weirdest place would be for someone to listen to this podcast.
We've had 4 different countries so far. One's Cambodia.
Someone's
been on a gap year.
Gap year. I hope you find yourself. I hope that we are part of your spiritual journey.
We really do have a banger of an episode for you this week.
This episode has opened my eye. I've been on a journey. This has felt like a gap year. I feel like I've been deep into the jungles and found my true, spirit animal.
Yeah. If you only have time to listen to one episode today, listen to this one.
Yeah. Listen to nobody else.
You're in the right place.
Look, goal hanger, mate. We're running from the halfway line, putting it through 2 people's legs, skipping past the keeper.
Exactly.
It's like Maradona against England, but without the hand of God.
You don't hear Goalhanger talking about the enhanced games now, do you?
Maybe.
Yeah, actually, quite possibly.
Actually, there are some stories. But
we're going to talk about it
Who's
too.
doing it like us? Who's doing it like us? And speaking of the enhanced games, it is our headliner for today, and it is an absolutely wild story. I want to delve into it a little bit deeper because we're seeing some of the headlines coming out about it, but it goes so much further, and I have had such a joy. It's been the journey of a lifetime, a road trip. That I remember for the rest of my life.
Some kind of trip, at least.
Oh, some kind of trip. Well, if you do too much of the enhanced games. So if you're confused as to what the enhanced games are, let me talk about who started it and why. Now, there are 2 key founders to bear in mind here. The first is a man called Dr. Aaron D'Souza. And you might be thinking, enhanced games? What could this might possibly be? Scientific? Well, he's a doctor of law, so he certainly won't know.
That does not bode well.
No. Before launching this project, he led the litigation on behalf of Peter Thiel against Gawker Media, which was the case that involved Hulk Hogan's sex tape and bankrupted Gawker. So maybe you're thinking, enhanced games, could this be who can bankrupt the most companies on behalf of a Facebook founding donator? It would make more sense. But he is a rugby lad, this should be noted. He's an athlete in his own right.
Dr. Aaron, has he competed before?
So unlike the enhanced games, which, if you're not aware, is about trying to, as best possible, push the human body to its limits through technological and scientific development, effectively rampant PED use.
Yeah, we're not talking brand spanking new
We're
trainers.
not talking brand spanking new trainers. We're not talking about the latest in technology, because that's already used in the Olympics.
Yeah.
No, this is an Olympics where they basically went, what if everyone was juiced to the nines? Which actually does sound like the Olympics, but
yeah. Yeah,
I tease as satirical. Just good old little jokes and banter, because we ourselves do not have the physical capabilities to do any of the stuff involved in this. But maybe if we take one of these regimes, led by former rugby lad of Wadham College, Oxford, Dr. Aaron D'Souza, who is still the team's honorary chairman, which is giving peaked in university.
Yeah.
And as someone who peaks at uni, I can absolutely guarantee that is what he is.
That is highly Oxford.
It takes one to know one, you know what I mean? The worst thing is as well, when I looked on the Dr. Aaron's, this is from Dr. Aaron's sort of biography on one of the websites that he is like a company founder of. Dr. Aaron wasn't like rugby captain or anything, but it did list that he was a member of the team and he wore number 14. So maybe that's significant. Maybe it's really not. But if anyone from Wadham College can tell us whether the number 14 shirt means anything, or if they've got it up in the rafters now for Dr. Aaron D'Souza, Doctor of Law, maybe.
Well, it's a winger, number 14. So he's gonna be running fast on the wing, not doing as much by way of contact. So,
well, speed is key for this company.
Speed is definitely key.
Oh, speed and keys are going to come into effect at some point during the enhanced games, let me tell you. Let's find out about this other character, right? Because so far I've given you a little bit of a snippet of what the enhanced games is all about. But truly, as much as it is about doping, it's also about investment. The other man at the head of the company, so very exciting, Christian Angermeyer is the other sort of co-founder of the enhanced games. He's also the founder and chairman of Atai Life Sciences. So he's been involved in these kind of biological fields for a while now. But this was what his description is on Atai, and oh, I love it so much. He's a serial entrepreneur and investor on the loose.
Yeah.
Look out for him.
Does make it sound properly dirty, that, doesn't it?
It does sound
He's a serial
so dirty.
entrepreneur.
I'm a serial entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I'm just I love to sow the seeds of venture capital. Yeah, he invests in companies that are shaping the quote next human agenda, a future in which technology empowers people to live longer, healthier, and happier lives.
It's very much a note you find in like an indie horror game. You're exploring like a lab.
Yes, yeah. It's very Half-Life.
Very foreshadowing.
Yeah, there is something ominous about it. It's one of those things where we have a sort of presupposed idea of what these kind of like scientist types can be like, but especially when you incorporate the money that's unfolding.
Also, Angermeyer, that should have been the name of Bruce Banner. Christian Angermeyer. That's insane.
You won't like me when I'm angry.
He was made for this.
Yeah. That's his secret. He's always angry. Angermeyer, no, Christian Angermeyer, I don't know what his temperament is, but I can tell you what the Enhanced Games sort of slogan, motto, log line is for itself, which is that we are pioneering a new era in athletic competition that embraces scientific advancements to push the boundaries of human performance. Performance being the key word there. This is about performance enhancing. The athletes they have on their roster already, with one in particular we'll talk about later, are referred to as superhumans. So the whole thing feels, in the Captain America films with the super soldier serum?
Yeah.
And how they have like different people have that put into them, like Bucky has it put into them, Captain America, they like,
Is that like when he goes in the coffin and he comes out ripped?
Yes. Yeah. I feel like this entire Enhanced Games, someone watched that first movie and saw scrawny CGI Chris Evans become Chris Evans, ooh, and went, that's kind of sick. And he starts sprinting, and they're like, ooh, how fast can he get? But look, what do we actually know so far about the Enhanced Games? Like I said, I've given you this long, laborious, dodgy start to it all, but the games team does include former Team USA chef de mission, or basically just the guy in charge of the trip.
Yeah, not the team chef.
Yeah, he's a chaperone, more than a chef. Rick Adams, and former Red Bull North America sports scientist, Dr. Dan Turner. And, Red Bull have done a lot of advancements in athletics and sports, but there is something quite funny about being a sports scientist at Red Bull. It's like, what is it? How much caffeine can you stick in a person, like, to give them wings with multiple eyes so they don't get sued, But their investors do include a bit of a rogues gallery, I'd argue. And we love that word on this show.
We do.
We do. Peter Thiel, who I mentioned earlier.
Yep.
So if you're not aware, I kind of name dropped him. Oh, pick that one up. PayPal founder. He was one of the earliest investors in Facebook. Peter Thiel, alongside Donald Trump Jr., are two of the major investors in the Enhanced Games. So it's starting to it's not actually unraveling at all, this story. It's just getting more and more convoluted. But here was the breaking point. The Enhanced Games is going to be next year in Las Vegas. This should be noted for later. But they have already got athletes on the roster. They are already undergoing these scientific and technological advancements, I can get my words out, to push these athletes to see how far they can get. And one of them has already tried to claim a world record. Greece's Christian Gakolmiev swam 0.02 seconds faster than the 50-meter freestyle record, clocking in at 20.89 seconds. It should be noted that Gakolmiev finished 5th in the 50 meters freestyle back in Paris just last year with a time of 21.59.
This is what's sad about this to me. If you're finishing 5th, like, I don't know who the 50 meters, he's some guy from Brazil who had the 50-meter record.
Yeah.
If you're finishing 5th, you can make that up if you try, probably.
Well,
you should
okay,
at least try.
so
I would just feel empty if I got a world record that way.
Yeah, well, let's discuss what the difference of that is. 20.89 to 21.59 is a very simple maths of 0.7 seconds.
Yeah.
Right? 0.7 seconds difference.
No, 1.7, no?
No?
It's not a maths show. Wait, let me get there.
It's very much 0.7. Chris Patel has a degree from the University of Cambridge.
In English, and you can see why.
In English, you can see why. But yeah, a 0.7 difference, and this is after undergoing the entire program. this is the thing. When 0.02 seconds determines what is and isn't a world record, these things do matter. And 0.7 seconds, people will fight tooth and nail to make that difference off. Michael Phelps famously once shaved and said that it knocked off a bunch of time on him because it made him more aerodynamic.
Mark Spitz used to do his moustache. The breaststroke. Adam Peaty does his moustache in halves. He has a half moustache in the semis.
Mm-hmm. Well, let it be known, folks, that moustaches not only make you sexier, but more aerodynamic.
I can't stand by that.
It's why the RAF all have them. Anyway, it should be noted that 0.7 seconds difference. He gained 10 pounds of muscle during this regime. That's 10 pounds in the course of what's effectively been about a year since Paris. But I don't know how long the regime has been going. It's a bit like sort of behind the scenes. But 10 pounds of muscle, that's quite a lot for an athlete who already has a lot of muscle.
Regime is the right word for this. I don't know if you say no to Dr. Christian anger management, I don't know if that goes down very well. He's like,
I don't want to see him
get to the back of the queue.
He doesn't. You do not like him when he's angry, like we said. But again, like you said, would you feel a bit weird about making this record? Well, World Aquatics say that you absolutely should. You should be marching through the streets with a bell behind you ringing out and shame on the lips of everyone around you because they've said they don't recognize the record. So what's the point? And this is the crucial thing. The whole thing with the enhanced games is that it is a drunk bro conversation that you might have on a podcast such as this one.
It's 100 men versus one gorilla. In fact, they might make that an event.
Yes, I absolutely can see them doing that. It is that thing where people have been saying, right, well, we've had so much doping in sports, we've seen so many of these different things. Well, what happens then? If it makes you so much better, how far can we actually push it? How far would you actually go? And it's been a meme, it's been a discussion post, it's been all different things. And now people with a lot of money have decided to try and make it real. And that is the difference. Besides the pump, the 10 pounds of extra muscle, money is the crucial factor, as it always seems to be. Enhanced aren't shy about their venture capital investment. They have said that we offer the highest athlete payouts, from appearance fees to rank-based bonuses and record-breaking rewards across all enhanced sports, which there isn't necessarily a cap on what those can be yet. Winning an event wins you $500,000, and breaking a record wins you $1 million. Now, in a world where in the sort of major sports you see millions flying around a lot, it's important to remember that athletics is not one of those sports. Yep. There's a lot of athletes who really can't, who struggle to do this full time, really. And it has been a massive talking point, especially in the last Olympics and since COVID, about not only funding for the sports facilities themselves, but for the athletes to be rewarded properly. And finally, someone's come along and said, "You can do it. Just try this regime. Try this regime. You know. I've got this new diet. It's like a YouTube ad that comes up before they sign on. It's like, in 30 days with calisthenics, you can do this. But the American anti-doping czar, which I always love when they call a czar,
I love that.
And CEO of the anti-doping organization USADA, the US anti-doping agency, Travis Tigert, said that anti-doping is at its lowest point in 25 years. He said that it's a shame that athletes might be drawn to the enhanced games to find money and this is interesting, a level playing field.
That is so interesting. It's a really good... That's not something I'd thought about, actually.
No. Well, when you think about the fact that in the last few years we've seen a lot of scandals, and I say the last few years, but forever in the Olympics, there's been scandals with doping and different little things, and we'll continue on that line. It is actually very interesting when you realise, well, what if everyone's on the same regime? What if everyone is pushing the same?
There is a slight problem with that, though. It won't actually be a level playing field. There'll be someone who's willing to put their body on the line to go further. Mm-hmm. Someone is probably going to die at some point.
There is the health risk. This is the thing. And it should also be noted as well that, like, fundamentally, there's one thing that you can't overcome, which is that some people have advantages.
Yeah.
So people are just going to have, like, they're already going to start off on a higher level playing field. So no matter what you try and do scientifically, it'd be very, very hard to keep up.
Like Matty's been a radio host for 2 years, so he's like already Olympic level podcasting.
It's
I
true.
had to take PEDs to get to this level.
Yeah, journalism course.
Yeah, exactly. Speed was the key.
Yeah. Well, so look, the enhanced games, according to our legendary czar, is a wake-up call to the guardians of Olympic values. There's also a wake-up call for scientists. Protecting athletes is our top priority, according to enhanced games, and
Okay.
Yeah. Well, hey, take them at their word. Maybe. Every competitor will undergo rigorous, state-of-the-art medical profiling before participating in the competition, and then we'll pump them full of drugs. No. Wait. So look, is it drugs? No. Guys, it's scientific and technological advancements whose use should be embraced and celebrated in elite competition. Because, guys, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. D'Souza said in one of the wildest statements from this whole thing, and arguing my favourite quote from my road trip through this story, individuals who are adults with free and informed consent should be able to do with their bodies what they wish. I mean, he's onto something. My body, my choice. Your body, your choice. Sorry?
King.
Feminist
king.
You know what? If we were talking about some other things, I'd be like, hey, pop off D'Souza, doctor of law coming out there, really standing up for legal rights. This is about doping in sports, which makes it kind of strange. But like you said before, that win-at-all-cost mentality could be dangerous. There are fears that a drug-fueled win-at-all-cost mentality will lead on to addiction issues. We've already seen this. I mean, Bradley Wiggins has been speaking out in recent years about his struggles. A lot of athletes struggle with painkiller addictions and all these different things because they're thinking, I've got to push through and push through. When you make that more widespread, what happens? And then talking about that level playing field, we already have athletes using what you call TUEs, which is therapeutic use exemptions, to use different substances. And again, where do you draw the line? Who's being legitimate, who is being illegitimate, and who's trying to get past different things? So there is actually a world of doping that needs to be uncovered, and it just seems like the Enhanced Games is ripping off that cover and saying, let Pandora's box play.
I mean, it reminds me of when there was the big doping scandal in cycling. The cyclists who were doing blood doping would have to get up in the middle of the night and cycle on a bike because the heart was just going so much. And it will become a dependency. And it will also become like, we've had some countries in the Olympics having extensive doping programs. That's not a your body, your choice thing. That's very much pressure. Whether like legalizing it across the board will alleviate that pressure, I don't know.
You're
right. Some crazy
you're right to bring up
though.
Countries. Just ignore little Misha Bear from the Moscow Olympics down there.
Yeah. He's not here.
He's not here. The World Anti-Doping Agency and the United States Anti-Doping Agency are having a bit of a Barney with each other at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So we mentioned our Tsar Tiger at USADA, but he's been very critical of WADA's handling of recent Olympic doping scandals.
Yes.
There was the doping scandal surrounding Chinese swimmers, and it's interesting that we're talking about them trying to break a swimming record.
Yep.
And that was really the story of, was it Paris that was all
That was Paris.
Yeah.
Yeah, look it up. It's a good one.
Yeah, and the very existence, meanwhile, of the Enhanced Games in Las Vegas, famously in the United States, has provided WADA with some ammunition to say, look, those in glass houses should not throw stones. There are others who are just plain dismissive. While the sporting world seems to be arguing with itself while the Enhanced Games just pumps money into a bunch of drugs, some prominent figures, such as Sebastian Coe, have simply said, and this is my favourite part of the story, it's not going to be a page turner, is it? So Sebastian Coe's idea that if you are putting out performance in Vegas, a big showcase of a bunch of people doped up to the nines, doing the events, and everyone knows that they're doped up to the nines, does it have the same magic? And is it just an issue that as much as the Enhanced Games feels like a fun conversation to have with the bros, is it boring?
I mean, I'm very against the whole concept, but I don't think it's boring. I think we could specifically take boring sports like golf and only allow juicing in those sports.
I just agree to that. No, golf's not a boring sport.
Golf is a good walk spoiled. Golf is a terrible sport to watch. But if someone was whacking it with all the force of 1,000 suns, then...
But people do whack it with all the force of 1,000 suns. Look at someone like Bryson DeChambeau, who changed the modern game by whacking it with all the force of 1,000 suns.
I'm already bored, Matty.
And then you got Rory McIlroy was pinging absolute beauties at the Masters. No, stop it.
Do you want to hear about a more interesting sport than golf? It's cheese rolling. So on Monday, the annual cheese rolling race returned to Gloucester. So the rules... we're all about rules.
We're all about rules on this show. We are truly the UCADA, I think. Was there any doping scandals with the cheese rolling before we start?
Well, not yet.
Anything we've got to clear up?
I mean, iShow Speed was involved, and he's a bit of a crazy guy and all.
He's a bit of a crazy
fronts.
guy. Roid Rage Speed. No, I'm kidding. Again, satire, Speed. Not saying anything. Your name is Speed, though.
No, his name's Darren, actually.
Oh.
How does cheese rolling work? I hear you cry. Well, a 7 to 9 pound, that's 3 to 4 kilos, round of double Gloucester cheese is rolled down the hill by the master of cheese, who is
I think you've called me the master of cheese before.
You famously hate cheese.
I famously hate cheese, but like people.
You look like the spokesman for cheese, for like the British Cheese Board. Real thing, by the way. And and yet you hate cheese.
I really don't like cheese at all.
You
no.
would not like this event. It's also a very steep hill. Slope of around 50%. So basically, competitors start racing down the hill after the cheese. The master of cheese sets it off. They tumble down the hill, and the first person over the finish line at the bottom of the hill wins the cheese. There's like catchers at the bottom as well to pick people up who are just rolling like unconsciously down the hill.
Yeah, this is it is a large and steep hill. What is the gradient we're talking about here?
We're talking about 26.6 degrees. I'm glad you asked. For you physics heads. Also, write in, what would the fastest cheese be? Because double Gloucester is pretty hard cheese. It's pretty fast. But what would the fastest cheese be?
Yeah, because we were discussing ahead of the time about how there was fears of it being too dry for the cheese to be particularly quick. So we're thinking about, slippery slopes.
Yeah.
And much like this podcast.
Well, yes. Lack of rain this year also made it more dangerous than usual.
Right.
So this year, the men's race was won for the second time in a row by German YouTuber Tom Köpke, and the women's race was won by a first-time competitor who was racing for a refugee charity. But they're they're far from the most interesting competitors. Last year, I Show Speed, the famous YouTuber, all-round buffoon, although he seems like a great guy.
Honestly, I love
I love the guy.
Yeah, I Show Speed, for anyone of a certain age will know like the football respect moments. I was saying to you how I Show Speed has sort of replaced that with his own sort of speed showing respect to his elders.
Was he avoiding walking on the double Gloucester logo on the ground? that is quite a niche reference, actually.
That's good. Keep it rolling.
So last year he competed because a homeless man told him about it, and he came fourth, but he fractured his leg. My favourite, he did like a YouTube video about this. My favourite part was the opening sentence where he says that it takes place in Leicester City. Yeah, he was trying to say Leicester, but it's in Gloucester. I don't know if he's misled by the homeless man or what.
Also, the fact that he thinks that Leicester is called Leicester City, like the football team.
Yeah, Leicester City. He also told a BBC reporter when he fractured his leg that he had a sigillaticulus lumbar fraction, which
wouldn't have happened if he was on the right regime.
No.
He's got to go talk to Dr. Aaron about that.
To be honest, the Tom Köpke who won this year, he does not look natty. He looks like he's hench.
Well, you know what they say. Well, whereabouts in Germany is he from?
Oh, my research fails me.
Your research fails you.
Germany. He's just from Germany.
Look, I'm not saying anything, but the East Germans back in the day, back in Moscow '88. Ooh.
Yeah, check his ancestry.com.
Check his ancestry. That's diabolical.
What was he doing in 1945?
Okay, move on. Come on.
So cheese rolling is hundreds of years old. There used to be other events in this whole jamboree. So wrestling for a belt. We still do that today, actually. Wrestling for a belt. Grinning through a horse's collar for a cake.
Right.
I've never done that.
No.
Grinning for a cake.
I mean, you have a maniacal grin. I feel like
at the best of times.
Yeah, it depends on the judging, but I feel like you could pull off a greedy cake boy.
Yeah, I'd have my cake and eat it.
Oh, he'd have his cake and eat it.
I would also probably win shin kicking, which was another one of the events.
Tell you what, back in the day in primary school, Ellie Mills' key event, shin kicking. Shout out.
That is very niche.
That is very niche.
I feel like we need GDPR for that one. Bloody hell. So it's a pretty crazy event. Not just because of the shin kicking. So here's a potted history. 1982, 4 adults and 4 children were struck by lightning, which I don't think you can blame the cheese.
No.
Is cheese conductive? Physics heads, write it in the comments.
Cheese conductive. So what is the most conductive cheese and what is the fastest cheese?
Yeah,
next.
I don't think mozzarella is very going to be... Anyway. 1990, there were 22 casualties, including a 59-year-old grandmother who was knocked out by the cheese. No, it's not funny. It's serious.
It's very serious. Guys, this is a very serious podcast. This is about cheese-related casualties.
Yeah.
And this actually is... I think this is helping my agenda. There are 2 things in this world that I struggle with the most, and it's cheese and bad knees. So a steep slope and a hard cheese, clocking grandmothers, knocking them out. I can't be having it.
It reminds me of when my friend in history class, the teacher was telling us about how they used to kill witches by dunking them in a pot of cheese. And he laughed at that, and she told him off for being a misogynist.
What? To be fair, what was the test? Their lactose
He wasn't the one
intolerant?
dunking them. No, I think it was like the ordeal by water.
What-
Like
what-
if you drown, you're innocent.
Is it Dairy Lee who do those little Dunkin' little tubs?
Dairy
Those
Lee.
plastic
Ooh.
tubs.
Dairy Lee, you misogynists.
Dairy. So who have we accused what of today? Speed of doping.
We'll
Dairy Lee of being misogynistic.
We'll get our legal team on it.
Our legal team's having sweats.
Our legal team is Dr. Aaron D'Souza.
We're safe hands.
In 1992, one of the children snapped his thigh bone in half while tumbling down the hill. Yes,
Ooh.
that's not funny. And in 1990,
Did he have a sigula figula, whatever it was called?
Yeah, he had a sigler tiggler.
Sigula, yeah.
In 1997, up to 37 people were injured, including
Wow.
7 spectators, and it was so bad that the following year the event was cancelled for safety reasons. But then it was resurrected, and in 2023, Delaney Irving from Vancouver won the women's race while unconscious.
That's a warrior mentality.
I've seen the YouTube clip. We probably should link it down below. She's just running down the hill, and then she falls flat on her face and rolls over the finish line. Yeah.
And with the cheese in hand, or like over the cheese. Or...
No, it's just whoever gets to the line. So they roll the cheese, but you don't have to actually catch the cheese.
See, that's a very important distinction because I always thought that it's about you've got to catch the cheese.
If you jump in and catch it in your mouth, bonus point.
If you haven't been catching your mouth, you're going to break your jaw, I feel.
I feel like, speaking of breaking jaws, there was a big scandal in 2009, a big cheese scandal. I promise you this is the last you're going to hear of cheese on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, at least on this episode.
It better be.
It's cheesy every week.
Oh.
There we go. In 2009, so 15,000 people attended, which is 3 times the capacity of the site. So the official event was shut down. What we have now is an unofficial cheese roll.
Really?
As official as it ever was. Yeah. Now
Wow.
it's an unofficial version. They tried to revive it, the official event, by making it a 2-day event with a 20 quid fee.
20 quid to get knocked out.
For a 2-day festival.
Yeah, but 20.
No, 20 quid to watch people get knocked out.
Oh my! So do you even get to do the shin kicking for 20 quid?
No, I think you've got to grin through a horse's collar if you want to if you want to enter. But there was a big backlash to that. So committee members were threatened. There was a committee spokesman called Richard Jeffries who said people have been spat at in the street, received verbal abuse in shops and school gates, and there has even been talk of bricks through windows and houses being burned down for this 20 quid fee for the cheese rolling. Don't mess with the people of Gloucester, is what I'm learning.
This is what's really brilliant is that this is such an ode to its medieval origins, right?
Oh yeah,
Because it's like there's nothing more medieval than someone imposing like a very strange and unique tax, and the people throwing things through windows as a response.
Shout out to the beard tax.
Shout out to the beer tax. This is the cheese hill tax, the cheese chase tax. You know what I mean? But it does feel so fitting. So fitting that there's this small village in Gloucester that can get so pronounced about £20 fee. It is ridiculous. For a £20 fee, I better have bruised shins and a shattered collarbone by the end of the weekend.
Oh yeah.
I want the full Monty.
I mean,
And a big slice of Victoria sponge. Thank
they
you
get
very
a bit
much.
of compensation. So in the under, how I told you about the kid who snapped his thigh bone in half.
Yeah.
Now they've made it so that the kids run uphill and they scramble for sweets.
Oh.
Bit safer, bit more boring.
That is a bit
I
boring.
don't think Sebco would watch that.
Yeah, it's not really a page turner, is it?
No, not really.
Have they considered helping the kids out by stacking on some muscle with a new regime?
Yeah, I think we're gonna see kids. I mean, Aisha Speed's basically a kid.
Actually,
Is he like 19, 20?
he is really young.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things they talked about with the enhanced games, to go back to it for a second, is the worry about it trickling down and this idea that like
Trickle down enhancement.
trickle down enhancement. With the idea that like I
Is
always
that why
thought,
Reagan was so buff?
well, I always talk about this when you see like videos of like kids and parents shouting at referees and different stuff like football matches. It's because the pros shout at referees over every decision.
Yeah.
Right? And it's because you see it and you replicate it. So if you have an enhanced games that's like really widely marketed, the same way the Olympics is, at a kid's sports day, you're going to see them like beforehand with the syringes out, sort of like, just breathe in, and breathe out. There we go. But I do worry that, like, to really save the cheese hill competition, it's time to start juicing these kids and send them down the hill again. Otherwise, I'm throwing some bricks through windows.
Well, speaking of seeing things and replicating them.
Well, very true. The power of influence. This is the story about how Putin has pulled Sex in the City and told Russia to not pull out.
That's so questionable.
We'll have a look. It's a bit rash. On September 1st, Russia's telecommunications regulator, Roskomnadzor, will put into effect an order banning child-free ideology in the media, removing distribution certificates of offenders.
So what actually is child-free ideology?
Well, it's going after content that seems to justify the refusal to have children or demonstrates a negative attitude towards pregnancy, motherhood, or fatherhood.
Right.
Right. Yes. Okay. So we'll get onto some of the examples straight away. One of the culprits they're looking at are Sex and the City, which is obviously about, sort of the single dating scene of New York.
Pretty sure one of them's pregnant at one point. I've not seen the show.
There probably is pregnancy, different things, but I think they're looking at Carrie and kind of going, you must have child by now.
Yeah.
No.
Carrie is famously childless. As I say, I've not seen the show.
No,
She might be famously with child.
Well, we need to get Mr. Big's take on this. Famously, Sex and the City also caused a scandal when Mr. Big died in a Peloton.
I was so confused about who Mr. Big is.
Mr. Big is like her central love interest. I think she ends up with at the end of the show. And they brought the show back, and he died in a Peloton.
He sounds like one
and
of those...
Peloton went, no, wait.
Wait, he died on a Peloton?
Yeah. He had a heart attack on a Peloton.
Oh, what, in the show?
In the show.
Oh, okay.
No. So
no, that's really funny.
Yeah, it's really funny. Legal nightmare. You think we're bad? I'm not saying anything about Peloton.
I'm scared of the Peloton instructors. I don't want to go after their legal team.
No, they're intense. They're intense. That regime would make you put on 10 pounds of muscle. Let me tell you.
So there's enhancement in everything.
There's enhancement in everything.
There's a reason it was top story.
Yeah. Well, anyway, look. Some of the other culprits, Game of Thrones, which famously,
what?
It does start with an inheritance crisis. And is about large warring families. And there is a lot made about having children.
Yeah.
The whole thing is about people's children and their reactions to their parents and about legitimate children and who is the rightful heir and all these different things. So it feels like that's a bit of a stretch, but
I think Putin just doesn't like Game of Thrones.
I don't think he likes fantasy. He's also banned Harry Potter. And if you're wondering where
these school kids are not having enough children.
Yeah, well, look, the thing is that I think it's very tangential. I think part of the Game of Thrones thing is that you do have kids killing their parents. So you might be thinking, oh, yeah, I mean, who wants a kid if your kid's going to crossbow you when you're on the toilet? You know what I mean? Maybe that's the promoting of child-free ideology. There's also, in Harry Potter, obviously, famously, Professor McGonagall, does she have kids? Who knows? And for that reason, it's banned. That's genuinely it. According to Newsweek, that's like they cited, and I think it's from a report from the Russians themselves. They said, well, maybe there was something in the past that she tried to but couldn't. We do not know.
Maybe she had kittens. Famously, she's a cat
she
as
can
well.
be a cat. Yeah, purr. They also have banned. I don't know why I did that. House of Cards. And I think there's other reasons to ban the Netflix's House of Cards than just child-free ideology. But maybe they just really don't like Robin Wright, which I don't think is fair.
No.
Fantastic actress.
Yeah, the mere mention of House of Cards. You know those maps where there's those old-timey maps where there's monsters in the sea? I can see the ship going towards the dangerous legal waters.
Look, I'm not going to
turn it back.
Yeah, turn it back. I mean, look. Anyway, but why are they doing this? And this is what we're all asking ourselves. Why, oh why, would you ban any of these things? Perhaps it's just personal taste.
Yeah.
Perhaps you're just not a fan of Netflix's early drama series, which I think is a bit of a stretch. They made some good work. Anyway, but the reason is that Russian demographers, what would it be? Demographers.
Yeah.
It's like demographics. I guess it's different because it's different straight. Anyway, demographers...
Argue about it in the comments.
I want to know, what's the fastest cheese? What's the other thing we want to worry about? It was about was it about juiced up cheeses or was it about... something like that. What's your favourite medieval riot? And how do you say demographers?
Yeah, we should start a WhatsApp channel.
Yeah. So Russian demographers, not to be confused with the Russian demagogue, who is also involved in this story, are showing Russia's birth rate has fallen to a historic low, not seen since the late 18th and early 19th century. So we're talking like a ridiculously long time ago, pre-Crimea.
I can't really imagine...
Very rural Russia.
When I think of countries that are a bit kind of sexy and a bit of an aphrodisiac, Russia doesn't come to mind. And 19th century Russia definitely doesn't come to mind.
No.
Serfdom.
Yeah. Well, the serfs, they have time. But I also feel like this is potentially one of those things where it's since records began.
Right.
'Cause
Okay.
I don't know how strong the records are of the late 18th, early 19th century Russia. Maybe I'm underestimating the Tsarist regime. Would this been what, Peter, Catherine?
What year are we talking?
What, late 18th, early 19th? That
Oh.
feels quite Catherine.
Yeah. Comments.
Comments in the comments. Who's your favorite Russian czar? And who's your favorite anti-doping czar as well? Debate about it fiercely and unfairly. Doping is allowed. The UN has predicted in a worst-case scenario that Russia's population will halve to 83 million by the start of the next century.
Just the idea of a population halving to 83 million is crazy.
It is crazy.
83 million.
Is already
So many people.
Yeah, but Russia is massive.
Yeah, true.
But it's just a lot of, cold Siberian. Is it? Yeah.
You're not backing yourself today, Matty. You
I'm
gotta.
not backing myself. Do you want to know what it was?
What?
Was that I always worry that I'm going to say Serbia. The
Dangerous legal water.
The word. The words get confused in my head too often.
Okay.
But
Eurovision must be a trip for you.
Eurovision is so trippy. I love Eurovision.
Yeah.
I was in acting class the other day, and someone pointed out how quickly I was able to name drop Conchita Wurst when someone asked about the Austrian winner. I was like, it's Conchita Wurst, darling. Who can't? Icon. Love you, Queen.
Well, now it's JJ as well.
JJ as well. Diva. Honestly, Eurovision is such a spectacle.
Yeah. I love it, and because of that, I insist on the right to criticize her perpetually.
What? Eurovision?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. Is it's like do you know the film The Last Black Man in San Francisco?
No.
There's a moment in it where people are complaining about San Francisco, and he says, "Yeah, but do you love it? Do you love it? 'Cause you gotta love it. You gotta love it to say any of that." Meanwhile, let me talk about Sex and the City in Russia a little bit more. Because does Russia love Sex and the City? Putin, do you love it? Because then you can't criticize it. They're worried that it's all Carrie's fault. Russia has experienced high casualty rates during its invasion of Ukraine, which famously was predicted in Series 3, Sex and the City. I'm not trusting myself today.
I think The Simpsons almost definitely.
Yeah,
predicted that.
probably. With men fleeing the country to avoid conscription alongside that. Authorities have also restricted access to abortion and contraception and have been offering payouts for pregnancies, this is what a lot of similar sort of regimes in these
I mean, the
situations have
Nazis
done in
used to
the
give
past.
out medals, didn't they?
Yeah. Oh, they had a tiered system.
Yeah.
It-
They had a Patreon.
Yeah. Division 1 birthers, you know what I mean?
Top breeder.
Top breeder.
Division 1. Grand champion birth.
Yeah. Like, how many FIFA points did they spend on those babies? You know what I mean? They've just been pulling packs all weekend.
Cheap and reliable coins.
Cheap and reliable coins. Go to our link. No, we don't have one of those. Anyway, one of the members of the State Duma, Miss Valerie Seleznyov, which is absolute butchering. But to be fair, they did say something crazy, so who cares? They proposed in 2023 that Russia should release women convicted of minor charges from prison so that they can conceive. I can save her.
How
Surely,
how
I
are
can
they
save
checking
her.
that they're going to conceive? Are they like on report?
Well, the idea is they let them out of prison, likely with very little to their name.
Go forth.
And then say, we'll give you a bunch of money if you go out and conceive. Because you can't conceive in here. So go out and have babies. Because we've got our male population is either dying or fleeing the country.
That is wild.
It's wild. Look, and speaking of the hard price of freedom, the fines for offending...
What's offending in this case?
Offending is...
Not having a kid. Watching one of these.
It's about
child-free
the distribution of telecommunications, yes.
Right.
That go against a child-free ideology. An individual can be fined up to 400,000 rubles, which is just under £4,000. Officials, so if you're in the government and you find yourself box setting Sex and the City, you can be fined up to 800,000 rubles, or around £7,500, all for giving someone a copy of the Philosopher's Stone. That's crazy.
Wow.
And companies, so for example, like whatever the Russian equivalent of Netflix is, which I think is Netflix.
Pravda. Everything pravda.
That's a really good joke. It's a shame that no one's going to understand that one.
Oh, don't underestimate our audience, Matty.
Our audience are big fans of, again, the early 20th century movements of... Well, isn't that early Soviet Union, Pravda?
I thought Pravda was also the current... Is it the current one of the current state newspapers? Leave it in the comments.
It might be. Sorry, I might be thinking of Forverts.
Oh, no, Pravda was Soviet as well.
Yeah.
There was a Pravda.
Yeah. Pravda and Forverts, Netflix and Amazon Prime. You know, don't compare them. Just enjoy. The companies
What's
can
the
be fined.
Rakuten TV of Russia?
Also, can you get a Mubi subscription in Russia? That's what I want
A
to know.
what?
Mubi.
Oh, Mubi.
Yeah. What are the cinephiles of Russia going to do without a Mubi? I have a Mubi that I spend too much money on to use as irregularly as I do. There are up to 5 million ruble fines for companies.
Wow.
Up to 5 million rubles, which is around £46,000. I must say, I presume that Mubi would be banned in Russia, because whenever I make my watch list based on, this looks good, I end up looking through it and it's all just gay European cinema. And I think like gay European are the two absolute red flags of Putin.
Yeah. You give the British cheese board, you also give gay European cinema.
Yeah, I do. The primate of Italy, Matty Curry. But the thing is that after reading this whole story, and maybe you agree, and again, write down in your comments, send us, a spec script for all this. I think it's a perfect setup for a Sex and the City style show set in Russia about a recently released convict trying to find a man to have a baby with before they're killed or flee the country. On average, OnlyFans will put you back a $5 per month. I looked that up on Google. I put in brackets, what is the average cost for research purposes? You can check my history. It'll only put you back a $5 per month. But the site's owner, Phoenix International, is looking for a little bit more. Leonid Ravinsky, the owner of Phoenix, is looking for a £5.9 billion payout, or $8 billion. I'm putting it into dollars because a lot of this is going to be taking course over the other side of the Atlantic, and I don't want to change everything to pounds. Looking for a sale with a consortium bid already in discussion.
So that's a group bidding for it.
Yeah, it's a group bidding. You may recognise consortium bids as being the backbone of all United Press whenever the Glazers are mentioned. But yeah, if anyone's not familiar, OnlyFans was established as a online site wherein people could communicate with sort of celebrities or individuals who they had a particular interest in the age of influencers, and pay them money for sort of specialist attention. So things like Cameo are quite similar.
Yeah, Patreon to an extent.
Patreon to an extent. Now, OnlyFans was set up that way, but has since pivoted, and that's because of Leonid Ravinsky. And we'll get into that as this story goes on. I've put a little headline here so I know where I'm at in the story. Getting nasty with it. Yes, Ravinsky bought his 75% stake in the company in 2018.
Yeah, this is where you switch out the light bulb for a red one and you close the curtains.
This
is where the pod starts to get freaky.
This is going to start getting steamy, and it's not just because this attic is hot, although it's actually cooler than usual, which is nice.
Yeah, it's all right.
He was the key player in the site's not safe for work focus. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
And that means?
That means porn.
Yeah.
Which means that OnlyFans basically now is where people can go on and establish their own private porn network. Doesn't have to be just that, just for putting that out there. It can be, OnlyFans can kind of be whatever you want to put out there, a bit like a Patreon.
Quite a few celebs also meet in the middle, do like boudoir pics.
Yeah. There's a lot. It's just a way, I think, because also sex work is work, people. Don't forget about that. So speaking of sex work, Ravinsky had previously founded Cybertania, which is a porn website referral business, while he was studying economics at Northwestern.
Sorry, a porn website referral?
Yes.
What? Is that like, you just Google porn, it's like, you might like?
So Ravinsky was born in Odessa back when the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Union.
That explains it.
So he's older than you think. He's in his 40s, Ravinsky, and so he was at university a while ago. So this is about 90s, early 2000s. This was back when, the internet was kind of in the verge of becoming the internet we know now. And when internet porn wasn't this widely available, very free thing that is just sort of like you can find anything out there.
Right.
It was much more...
It was lads mags.
Yeah, it was lads mags. It was a bit more...
Nuts and Zoo.
It was more based around subscriptions, which is quite interesting that he's now in charge of OnlyFans, which is all based around paid subscriptions. But it's about passwords and all these different things, which is why, as a uni student, which is such uni student behaviour, his early websites offered illegal, quote-unquote, and hacked passwords to porn sites. So people can access them without having to pay or get sign up or anything like that.
When you put illegal in quote marks.
This is, in my research, it was always only going to be coming... It's illegal because legally it's kind of hard to put your finger on. It was probably advertised as such. It's illegal in the fact that it breaks the rules of the porn sites.
Right, okay.
I think the best word for it would be hacked. The best word for it would basically just be free passwords.
Yeah.
But he might have otherwise charged. It's shady. These sites no longer exist. I don't know. But he did end up in a lawsuit with Microsoft in 2004 for this. The charges were dropped, but it's a notorious opener for a long career, because he then moved into his own adult platform. From going to sort of allowing access keys to others, he then created My Free Cams, which
was Leonid on the cam himself.
Leonid was not on the cam himself, to my knowledge.
He's lost my interest. I'm out.
He's out. So webcamming is a form that has basically started this sort of OnlyFans boom, you would say. There's still webcam sites, but it's the idea that you, using your own personal stuff, such as a phone camera, can record yourself doing whatever you please.
You've got porn history on this pod, you've got cheese history, and you've got the history of Russian serfs bonking.
Yeah, and I think we fall into all those categories in many ways. This is why you come to us with the specialists. He also established his own venture capital fund called Leo in 2009.
Yeah, so such Leo behaviour.
Such Leo behaviour. Oh my
Leo.
God. This blending of experience eventually led to his acquisition of OnlyFans. It was all about money and, a bit of adult content. So I, again, with my own little captions, entertaining myself. Imagine, if you will, over this next section, push it to the limit from Scarface, because money starts racking up. There's people laughing and joking on the phone. There's just
Is this like the hot tub bit, or just a bit before?
No, the montage where they've got the money counters going.
Oh, yeah.
And it's, push it to the limit.
Actual scenes from Podcast HQ.
Actual scenes from Podcast HQ is me doing the air guitar to this. In 2022, Radvinsky, his net worth hit $1 billion.
Cha-ching.
That's a B. In 2023, OnlyFans posted revenues of $1.3 billion, with creators receiving $6.6 billion between them. This is thanks to the creator platform 80-20 split that they have in place, which is why it's been so attractive for people. Since 2020, Radvinsky's dividends alone have totaled just shy of their own $1.3 billion mark.
Wow.
As the user base and profits continue to grow. Again, likely thanks to that 80-20 split. Forbes currently lists Radvinsky's net worth at a whopping $3.8 billion. He was on $1 billion 3 years ago. He has been raking it in. We've talked in the past about how technology has changed over the course of the pandemic. OnlyFans has really capitalized on that. And you can see that from its 2020 numbers. Now, who wants a bit of this? Let's talk consortiums.
That is my favourite genre of porn, consortium.
Anyway, American businesses team up. No, the consortium is in the most...
Destroys rival bid. Sorry, I'm sorry.
You make me sick. In the best way. The consortium in the most concrete acquisition talks are led by the Forest Road Company. You may have heard them, you may not have. They're an investment firm that have already purchased 100% of a Formula E team. So they're very much about this new human agenda of technology. I'm on fire. Rebranding ERT's team to Kiro Race Co. And if you're wondering why they did that, I don't know. And are long-term collaborators and stakeholders in Yale Productions, part of Yale Entertainment, which is
affiliated with...
Less to do with the university. They are an indie film company based in New York.
Right.
And they are behind various movies with household names and unfamiliar titles. I am a film student. I scrolled through their entire website and was like, none of this rings a bell, but a lot of these faces, oh boy, what were you paid? Yale Productions did in fact make a film, though, a few years ago, which I think fits perfectly in this story. It's called Addiction. It's about a full-time dope fiend and part-time father working within the underground, highly illegal pornography industry in 1960s New York.
I'd watch that.
And I saw that and I went, brilliant. This fits perfectly into the porn baron story. But they do have competition.
I've just seen who the competition is.
Yeah.
I'm not happy about this.
Speaking of full-time fiends, Conor McGregor, we shared a post about the OnlyFans sale on his Instagram with the comment that I'm in serious talks to buy this. Now, his net worth is very hard to track. Some sites put it closer to rewards around the 30 to 50 million mark, some into the 100, 150 million mark. And that's a lot of money. But just like most of the world, he's about $1 billion short of $1 billion. And considering that they're wanting $8 million for this.
Yeah, sit down, Conor McGregor.
Yeah, it's a bit like if I was to sort of... Actually, I was about to say it's a bit like if I came in for Manchester United. Conor McGregor also put his hat in the ring for Man United when during the Ineos bid.
Right, I
and
didn't
the
know
guitar
that.
bid. Yeah, he did, and then very quietly disappeared from that conversation. He's just putting his hat in the ring, you know what I mean? Or throwing his hat in the octagon, I guess, in this instance.
Very
So
good.
did that, very good. Now, this is all a true underdog story. It should be noted. It's a feel-good... It's like Rocky, you know? The sale is not yet a done deal. And there are reports of uncertainty when it comes to buying an adult-only platform. The Reuters valuation, where a lot of this story stems from, originally was between a 1.5 million and 1.5 billion. Ooh, I was in Conor McGregor territory there.
We're in broke boy territory.
Broke boy territory. 1.5 and 2.4 billion dollars, which is again about 6 or 7 billion shy of what they want. So it's looking a bit unlucky for Radvinsky. Ofcom have already fined Phoenix in recent years £1 million, which again, Connor could pay that, for failure to establish an effective age verification system. This was in reference to their selfie face recognition and age verification system that they thought wasn't good enough. And as part of a broader worry that these online sites don't do enough to verify. Anyway, in more sort of looser terms, OnlyFans started in 2016 when Tim Stokely had nothing but a dream and the large investment of his investment banker father, a loan.
A small loan of $1 million.
A small loan of probably more than $1 million. I don't know what the loan was, but whenever there's an investment banker father on the case, you're in safe hands. Really setting the tone for Forestry here, or Forest Road, whatever they're called. Radvinsky was born in the Soviet Union, like I said. He's an Odessa native. And you know what? He made good. He came to America, went to Northwestern in Illinois. And while he was there, he started his empire of hacked passwords and webcams.
The American dream.
It's the American dream.
Oh.
It's the American dream in very much the Miss Saigon sense. But also, we've also got the OnlyFans chief executive to think about, Kelly Blair, who said in 2023, a banner year for the company, that it had cemented its place as a leading digital entertainment company and a UK tech success story. It's so empowering. I feel so fired up for them. But will they find a buyer for their most expensive account yet?
We've got a short one to finish off. We've got a cold one as well. So the story. Outgoing Australian MP Kyle McGinn ended his farewell speech this week with a shoey. So if you're uninitiated, that's you crack open a beer and you drink it out of your own removed shoe. So McGinn, who's 37, quite young to retire, had become known for the shoey and said that he wanted to show that there were normal people in Parliament.
It is a big part of Aussie culture.
He's when he just before he did the shoey, he said, "Members, love me or hate me, I haven't changed who I am. I hope this speech has explained to members what is important to me. Cheers."
What a champion!
We've got a picture of him here. He's a big lad.
He is a unit.
I'm sure he's put away more than a few shoeys in his time. He actually became known for it around Western Australia.
Right. I mean, he strikes me as somebody who, back in the day, used to be the life of the party. Like we talked about rugby lads earlier. Dr. Aaron D'Souza. Maybe he had a bit of a party in him, but I don't think he could even come close to Kyle McGinn on the rugby socials.
Dr. Aaron D'Souza's a winger. Kyle McGinn's a prop forward.
Yeah, to give you an image. You know anything about rugby?
Yeah. He's. I was about to make a very in poor taste initiation joke there.
Okay, let's not go there.
That will be on the Patreon. We don't have a Patreon. If anyone tells you they're us, don't pay them.
Don't pay them, yeah.
Until we ask for money.
If there's any scam people, if they're in your DMs, got to make sure that it's a scam from @New Sensation.
The audacity of us thinking people. So, Kyle McGinn, he was a Western Australia Labour Party MP until he retired this week. Elected in 2017, so he served 8 years.
Yeah.
I am good at maths. Yeah, there you go. I can take 25 and 17 away from each other. He worked as a cook and then he became a union organiser. A Reddit comment said, "I knew Kyle when he was a FIFO chef on the oil rigs in Darwin." A FIFO chef is a fly-in, fly-out chef.
Sorry, why are we not doing an Aussie accent for this one?
I knew Kyle when he was a... To be fair, you get all sorts on the oil rigs. It could be a Scot.
Could be a Scot.
I knew Kyle when he was a... No.
No.
When he was a FIFO chef on the oil rigs in Darwin. Absolute gent that would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. Then he'd buy you a beer and listen to your story.
It's the Piano Man.
Yes. Which character from the Piano Man song?
No. Kyle on the rig is a friend of mine. Yeah. He gets me my beers for free. He's quick with a joke or to light up your smoke. There's some place you'd rather be, and it's the Parliament.
Yeah. Up until this week. But there was a bit of pearl clutching online about this. Kind of, how dare he drink out of his shoe? It's disgusting. Or how dare he drink out of his shoe? It's disgusting. But this is not the most controversial shoey in Australian history.
I should hope not.
No, so the Budgie Nine, who were a group of 9 Australian men who went to Malaysia back in 2016, were so called because they stripped down to their budgie smugglers, which are patterned with a Malaysian flag over the bum.
Right.
And did shoeys in front of a crowd, despite Malaysia's strict public indecency rules.
I think that's a great show of patriotism.
It really is. Malaysia did not think so. So it caused a brief diplomatic incident. The then Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull gave a brief statement about it, but the 9 managed to avoid a fine.
That's so impressive.
Yeah.
That's really impressive.
In honour of the Budgie 9, we're going to sign off in a similar fashion. So we've got a couple of cold ones here.
Yeah.
And these are alcohol free.
They are.
I drove here. Definitely don't drink and drive. I
Yeah,
feel
do
like
not.
it's almost dangerous to have alcohol-free beer in the car and drive. Because I was buzzing when I bought these. It took me straight back to uni. Saturday in the Park by Chicago was playing in my head as I cruised down the road.
Saturday in the Park by Chicago. Well, this is the thing. It's like before we do this, it should be noted that your parents have dedicated their lives to the medical fields, helped
Yes.
many people. You yourself, and both you and your brother have degrees from the University of Cambridge, and now you are sat in my attic about to do a shoey of non-alcoholic beer out of a running shoe.
Well, it's because we care about the news so much. So
This is the new sensation. Now, because this is both an audio and a video based platform,
Yes.
we're going to commentate on each other's shoeys. I
Right.
feel.
I'll put me
Just
mic
so you
down.
don't hear glugging for the entirety of this. Oh, got that one.
Oh, this is horrible.
Chris's choice of shoe here is a crosshatch. What would you usually wear this shoe for?
Go to TK Maxx. Okay, you ready?
Now he's about to go to town on this one. Oh, get it down, you son. Now Chris is using a very interesting technique here. He's lifted up the flap on the top of the shoe, and he's taken it very steady. I'm usually someone who likes to go in hard, get it out of the way, get your nose out of there, because it's a stinky joint. But I said to him, make sure it's flavoured so you can overwhelm it. Chris Patel, a strong showing.
It's so foamy.
It's very foamy.
It's so foamy. Just for the listeners, it's very foamy.
That's coming live to you there from Chris. Oh, he's still going. He's still going. Oh, he's downed it. What a champion.
There we go.
Now, Chris, pick up your mic. Let's have a post-match interview. How do you think you handled that?
It was bloody refreshing, mate. Went down like a not a cold one, a warm one in a shoe, as well as you might expect. But I'm just happy to do it for the listeners, and yeah, roll tide.
Roll Tide?
That's from
That's Alabama.
Get your shoe out.
Right, yeah. So I have actually done 2 shoeys in my life.
Wow.
Right, okay. Whoa. So why is this interesting?
Mr. Big over here.
Okay, so
surprised you didn't get killed by a peloton on your way.
for anyone who doesn't know, I'm teetotal.
Yeah.
So you'd think that I'm exempt
Teetotal,
medically.
lactose intolerant,
Yeah.
bullied at school extensively.
Extensively.
By me. No.
Yeah, and at university, we forget that. Bullied to this day.
Theatre kid.
Theatre kid. Just a wrongin'. Like
Full-time fiend.
Yeah. Like if you offered this between me and like I don't know whatever the option would be for a daughter in like a would you rather, no one's picking this.
No one's
No one's picking the lactose intolerant alcohol free son.
Nobody's gonna set you free from prison so you can conceive.
No, nobody wants this.
Get that alcohol free beer cracked open, Matty. Put that mic down.
Right.
So it should be said that Matty he's had alcohol-free beer. He's had beer. He doesn't like it very much. He said he would have a real beer, if he went to Oktoberfest. Oh, a bit of sprayage there. SeaWorld and Podcast HQ. And he's surprisingly poised. Oh, he's even tasted a bit before. How's it tasting?
I don't like that.
And we have a lovely Nike Air Monarch here. Slightly more expensive than my shoe of choice, my vessel of choice, but is Matty's first drink in a long time. And here we go, down the hatch. He's keeping his eyes open and his eyes firmly on the prize. Now, the problem I had is it was very, very foamy indeed. Matty seems to be handling that like a champ. Careful he doesn't get foam in the moustache. Oh, Oh, there's some suds left, but that is some quite comprehensive coverage by our Matty, and it's all in the name of the news. So I found that to be a game of two halves, Matty. What did you think? It seemed like it was all down in one.
Listen, I always win things in my second season. And any great news podcast, they always say the third episode's better than the second. And what a finale that was.
Wow.
I really need to burp, but I've got a mic in my hand.
While Matty burps off the mic, I've been Chris Patel.
And I've been Matty Curry.
And in the words of Kyle McGinn, cheers.
Cheers.